Welcome to a video that could absolutely change your life. My name's Matt Finch, and 9 years ago I recovered from a severe and out-of-control addiction to opioids. Since then, I've made it my life's mission and purpose to help other opioid users recover. I've become an obsessed seeker of opioid withdrawal remedies, and a great deal of my time is spent researching and creating content about these remedies, both natural and medication-based. And in this video, you're going to learn about something called HEANTOS-4. HEANTOS, which means heat of the sun, is a natural formula for opioid withdrawal that was developed in Vietnam in the 1980s. It's a complex and elegant combination of 13 organic herbs which have been used to treat over 9,000 people suffering from addiction. HEANTOS can aid in the reduction of opioid withdrawal symptoms and cravings. It can also promote physical and mental health, as it appears to restore dopamine production and other imbalances in the body caused or exacerbated by substance use. HEANTOS has a fascinating story behind it. For generations, opium has been harvested in Vietnam. Opium use in rural villages has been an important part of Vietnamese culture. However, in between harvests, there isn't enough opium to continue supporting everyone's habits. In an effort to allow the elders of the family to continue using opium, the younger members would have to discontinue their use. Unfortunately, severe withdrawal symptoms manifest as a result of the abrupt cessation of opium after a physiological dependence has been established. To remedy this, local herbalists and village medicine men traveled into the forest to gather herbs that could ameliorate these unpleasant withdrawal symptoms. After watching his father and brother fall victim to the perils of opioid addiction, herbalist Tran Quan Dan, known as Dr. Dan, traversed Vietnam from south to north, approximately 2,000 kilometers, in the 1980s in an effort to develop an herbal remedy that could effectively treat opioid withdrawal symptoms. Dr. Dan visited rural villages where opium has been prevalent for centuries, where he sought out local herbalists to discuss natural remedies for treating opioid withdrawal. By the end of the decade, Dr. Dan settled down and organized the knowledge he had gained. At this time, he also started studying traditional Chinese and medical texts to further evolve his understanding of addiction treatment. As a result of his research, Dr. Dan developed HEANTOS, a natural remedy for opioid withdrawal consisting of 13 herbs. And in 1990, HEANTOS was presented to the Vietnamese health authorities, at which time clinical trials began. A 1994 trial on 110 morphine-addicted war invalids at the Hoang Long Rehabilitation Center suggested that following treatment with HEANTOS, as much as 80% of the individuals discontinued picking up their free monthly rations of morphine provided to them by the government. Starting in 1995, Dr. Dan began to collaborate with the Hanoi Institute of Chemistry as part of a United Nations-sponsored effort to further research and enhance the efficacy of HEANTOS. It was here that Dr. Dan worked closely with Tran Van Sung to progress HEANTOS from its original syrup form into standardized capsules. Eventually, the stages of development led them to divide the plants in HEANTOS into 3 groups of dry herb capsules. They named these groups HEANTOS 1, used to alleviate acute withdrawal symptoms; HEANTOS 2, a sedative that promotes sleep; and HEANTOS 3, which helps to prevent relapse by reducing opioid cravings. There have been 2 key objectives in the development of HEANTOS since the 1990s. Transform HEANTOS into a stable, multiple pot herbal extract, and phytochemically characterize each of the 13 plants included in the original syrup. This task proved to be daunting, especially since some of the technology was not available in Vietnam. Thus, the Institute of Chemistry enlisted the help of German chemists to help them achieve their goals. With the help of chemists at the Institute of Plant Biochemistry in Halle, Germany, researchers were able to create HEANTOS-4, which is a single, dry herb capsule containing 13 organic herbs. Under the supervision of the Vietnam Ministry of Health, a 3-phase study was performed at the Central Psychiatric Hospital in Hanoi. This project ended in 2011 with favorable results. Thus, in 2012, the Vietnamese Drug Administration, VDA, gave permission for the production and use of HEANTOS-4 in the treatment of addiction. HEANTOS-4 is presently providing patients in Vietnamese treatment centers with the following benefits. Helps patients sleep, notably reduces the severity and duration of opioid withdrawal symptoms, significantly reduces cravings. A recidivism study at a treatment center in Vietnam concluded that 37 out of the 40 patients were still opioid-free 90 days post-HEANTOS-4 detox treatment. In a larger recidivism study on HEANTOS-4, 300 patients were giving HEANTOS-4 for the initial detox at a treatment center in Vietnam. Medical doctors found that 80 to 85% of the patients had blood tests negative for opioids 3 months after the initial detox. Dr. Anthony Phillips, a world-renowned expert in brain function and behavior, and Dr. Michael Krause, an addiction and mental illness specialist, led a team of researchers at the University of British Columbia to study the mechanism of actions of HEANTOS-4. Online, I was able to find a PowerPoint video presentation of Dr. Phillips at the Lost in Translation conference on some of their research regarding the use of HEANTOS-4 with rats. 2 important test results are as follows. HEANTOS-4 attenuates naloxone precipitated morphine withdrawal syndrome, creates a robust increase in dopamine, an important aspect of the neurobiology of addiction, and when given to morphine-dependent rats before a naloxone precipitated withdrawal, HEANTOS-4 buffers the precipitated loss of dopamine. With HEANTOS, it was first used by humans. There was a lot of anecdotal evidence that it reduced opioid withdrawal symptoms. Then it was taken to the lab and finally tested on rodents. So in essence, it went in the totally opposite direction.